morning, everyone. That was fantastic, and now you get me, so please lower your expectations for the next 5 minutes. The opening protocol and the welcoming remarks as well. So we're going to move into our first session, focused on fire-adapted communities. This is one of the core tenets, like Elizabeth spoke about, of the National Cohesive Wildland Fire Management Strategy, and it's part of the system that really centers on people. It's about our communities, our policies, our funding, our practices, our education, and the built environment. It's all that people stuff. At its core, fire-adapted communities, it's about making sure people, communities are prepared for fire, that we're reducing risk where we live, and that we're able to live with fire in a safer, more resilient, more sustainable way. The goals are pretty clear. For communities to understand their risk, for people to know what to do before, during, and after an event, for homes and neighborhoods to reduce their vulnerability, and for all of our systems, our policies, our investments to support this work. This is the part of the system where awareness turns into action. What's exciting right now across Hawaii, we are seeing real momentum in this space. Today we're going to highlight a small sampling. First though, I just want to zoom out a bit. Over the past 3 legislative sessions, we've seen more wildfire-related bills than we've ever seen before. And honestly, that's up from almost 0 historically. So that's a big deal, it's a big shift. We now have things like the Green Fee, which is recognizing wildfire as a hazard that deserves committed, dedicated, sustained funding. Agencies and organizations like Hawaiʻi Wildfire, we're finally starting to build capacity after decades of doing this work with very little resources. And importantly, there is a growing understanding that fire, our risk, isn't just about any one sector or agency. It isn't just about vegetation. It's also about that built environment. Our homes, our structures, our landscaping, our communities. And this kind of work is going to require all of us. Residents, planners, developers, emergency managers, leadership, all of us working together. And these conversations finally together are really happening. So first at the community level, Firewise. We have almost 60 Firewise communities engaged right now across the state. You'll hear from just a few today, but the work is happening across all of them is really incredible. Beyond just that number of 60, we want to recognize the actual people behind that number. These are our community members, our champions, our change makers. They're organizing their neighbors, they're hosting work days, they're leading education events, they're keeping all of this momentum living and alive. And they're not just reducing risk, but they're building community. I want to acknowledge the funding that supports this work while also recognizing that the funding doesn't begin to capture the thousands of volunteer hours that have gone into making these communities safer. This is, for me, one of the most inspiring parts of the system. At the household and resident level, a home assessment program. It's continuing to grow. It started off as one-on-one support for residents, helping them understand how to reduce risk around homes, and also training community ambassadors for more peer-to-peer, one-on-one support. And it's now evolving into something bigger. This program, like other programs across the country, are being built towards supporting home hardening and retrofit cost share programs. So residents can actually implement the recommended mitigation actions while also aligning with insurance standards and so that we can support insurance retention. We're working in the early stages with national partners, including IBHS and NFPA, so as well as our local insurance providers, to do this here in Hawaii. At the same time, we're focused on working towards ensuring consistency across the state. So all the residents have access to a strong, aligned program. Kauaʻi is rolling out a county-led program this year Maui County is moving in that direction, and as more partners step in, we're working together to keep everything coordinated and robust statewide. So all of this can become something that truly works for our residents and homeowners. Community wildfire protection plans. These plans are now being updated across the state. Kauaʻi is already in the process. Hawaii Island will be next, and then Maui and Oahu will follow. These plans are critical. They build that shared understanding of risk, and it helps identify the priority actions for a region. So if you see those workshops coming to your communities, please participate. The plans really do reflect the voices of the people that show up to those meetings. And then to make sure that these plans don't just sit on shelves, we're building a CWPP action group so that we can carry this plan forward into real projects and implementation on the ground. So we do invite all of you to be part of these efforts when those groups come to your area, the areas where you live and work. And then of course, across all of this, our outreach and education. It continues to grow and grow. HWMO, in partnership with the University of Hawaii through our Pacific Fire Exchange program, along with DOFA, our fire and emergency management partners, we continue to expand all of our education, our publications, our trainings, both in quality and reach, but also in depth and breadth. There's so much information now available, technical support now available, so please use it. If you see something that's missing, let us know. If you need help finding something that you're looking for, please come to us. Preparedness. We're entering the season where Ready, Set, Go workshops roll out alongside our Wildfire Drought Lookout campaign. Both of these bring all of the partners together statewide around shared preparedness messaging. So when you see that message or you get the workshop advertisement, please help us circulate those throughout your own organizations and neighborhoods. So as you can see, there's a lot going on, a lot of good work. And maybe, most importantly, we're no longer having to convince people that wildfire is something that Hawaii needs to deal with, that Hawaii needs to pay attention to. We have that awareness now, so the work is starting to look a little bit different. It's about carrying all of this forward, letting it grow, making sure it's coordinated, it's thoughtful, it's connected across agencies, across communities, the whole system. That's what we believe it's going to take to get Hawaii, our communities, our landscapes to be truly thriving for the long haul. So today in this session, Fire Adapted Communities, it's going to give you a window into the system. We're going to start with a panel that's focused on Firewise communities. They're going to be sharing some real experiences from communities and resident leaders on the ground. And I'm just going to say, some of the folks you're about to hear from were so inspired by the work that they were doing in their own neighborhoods that they ended up coming to our organization to work for us. So I am so entirely grateful and thankful for their dedication, ongoing work, commitment, service to their own communities and our communities statewide. So it's my pleasure to introduce the moderators, Cassandra Smith and Erin Conway, who are going to guide this conversation. Come on up, ladies.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Erin Conway. I'm the Firewise coordinator for Oahu and Kauaʻi. And I know Nani briefly touched on Firewise communities, but we'll be providing a little bit more detail. So Firewise communities in Hawaii and how we can build wildfire resilience. And before proceeding, this work would not be possible without DLNR DOFA support. We do this work jointly through Hawaii with them, but HWMO Firewise staff is boots on the ground for the program. And then I just want to start with what research and experience has shown before we get into the Firewise program, which is a home materials and its immediate surroundings truly dictate its ignitability. So the biggest factor in home survival is those two things. And so this is our home ignition zone, the area extending from the structure out to 100 feet, as you can see in those red, orange, and green circles. The highest priority is that 0 to 5 foot zone. We know many communities would have quite a few extra homes in this, which is really why our home ignition zones are important and why that 0 to 5 foot zone is our priority. Because what you do on your property can affect your neighbor, and what they do on their property can also affect you. So the Firewise program helps reduce wildfire risk through local action and planning, and in Hawaii, Firewise staff work directly with communities to support them. So the program provides structured framework for education and risk reduction, and where the Firewise staff come in to support this is virtual and in-person meetings, site visits, community risk assessments, and more. Each community brings its own unique strengths, experiences, and needs. So communities on Hawaii Island are going to look a lot different than urban Honolulu on Oahu, and same for Maui, but this approach really ensures that Firewise work is locally relevant, built around what matters to residents, while also reducing those risks and increasing preparedness in our communities across the state. So the Firewise program is supported by a strong partner network, as we've heard, which has grown significantly in recent years. Just 6 years ago, we only had 15 Firewise communities across the state. Today we have nearly 50 nationally recognized, along with 10 more actively working towards that recognition. And in 3 years, we've tripled the number of sites, which we're very proud about, contributing to a national network of over 3,000 Firewise communities. This growth reflects not just the increasing awareness of wildfire risk, but also stronger community engagement statewide. And the reason that the program is so successful is it's voluntary and community-driven. Firewise provides structured tools and the support, but the direction and action come from the community. So we know that when communities lead the process, solutions better reflect direct priorities, needs, and the local conditions of that place. So if you're interested in becoming Firewise, we have 4 pretty simple steps. First is just gathering with your neighbors, forming that committee, and then you're going to complete a wildfire risk assessment along with us at Firewise staff, your local fire department, and then deal in our DOFA. With that comes the planning phase, which is our basically creating an action plan, making those risks into our roadmap of priorities, from things that we want to address first to maybe way longer in the future that would take more coordination and whatnot. Third step is action. This is the exciting part. This is the boots on the ground work where we create defensible space around our homes and communities, we reduce hazardous vegetation, and then we increase awareness of wildfire risk in our community. This work is then annually reported to the National Fire Protection Association annually to obtain and maintain Firewise status. And then Firewise success truly does depend on community engagement and sustained action over time. HWMO really turns these plans to impact through targeted grant support. In 2025, $150K was spread across 35 projects statewide, removing over 140 dumpsters of hazardous vegetation. This work was supported by coalitions and collaboratives in the National Fire Protection Association on Hawaii Island and Oahu, as well as the American Red Cross on Maui. And then we have to give a huge mahalo to our Team Rubicon volunteers. We also really scaled this up in 2026, spreading over 300K across 46 projects statewide. This work was supported by the Department of Land and Natural Resources, Forestry and Wildlife, Kamehameha Schools, coalitions and collaboratives, National Fire Protection Association, and the Bezos Earth Fund. We don't have a report on all of the work that was done because some of it is still ongoing, but we're really going to be proud about showing some of those projects and maybe hearing about them today. And then next, so progress really looks like these communities taking action year after year to reduce their wildfire risks. This work is about turning collaboration into measurable risk reduction. Our strongest protection is communities that are informed, connected, and taking action together. And then lastly, this work is made possible through the sustained partnership of partners who have helped scale Firewise efforts across Hawaii. We want to give a huge mahalo to the following, which is Deal in Our DOFA, Department of Hawaiian Homelands, National Fire Protection Association, Team Rubicon, the American Red Cross, Kamehameha Schools, coalitions and collaboratives, and the Bezos Earth Foundation. And then I'm mahalo for your time. I'm going to pass it over to Cassandra Smith, who will be moderating today's panel of Firewise leaders.
Aloha kako. Mahalo nui, Erin, for that really great comprehensive overview of the Hawaiʻi Firewise program. Now we're going to turn things over to our panelists who are going to share their perspectives from communities across Hawaii doing this work on the ground and in their own neighborhoods. So you'll hear directly from resident leaders who are organizing, learning, and taking action together. And as Nani mentioned, this panel is a bit unique in the sense that 3 of them are my coworkers. They're our Firewise team, and they support, of course, numerous Firewise communities throughout the islands, but are also simultaneously leaders in their own community. So they're bringing both professional and personal experience today. We're also joined by a community leader sharing what Firewise looks like in her neighborhood, including their specific challenges and solutions. So together, this panel offers insight and real on-the-ground experience that we hope will inspire those in attendance today. And I'll briefly introduce our panelists. We have Elizabeth Keifer from Waialaiki Ridge, Oahu. We have Harriet Parsons from Kauaʻi Estates. We have Aina from Waikoloa Village, Hawaii Island. And we also have Anuhea Kānealiʻi from Kauaʻi, Oahu. Mahalo to you all for being here today, and let's jump into things. For this very first question, how about we start off with Elizabeth, and then we'll jump to Anuhea. And the question is, can you tell us about what got you started with Firewise, and what makes this work really resonate so personally with you?
Sure. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Keifer. I live on Oahu, East Honolulu, in a ridge community of about 900 homes. We have actually 3 Firewise community because everything is connected. There's steep gulches on either side, and there's power lines running up and down the gulch. And in the middle of our community, we have a 3-acre overgrown park. And we've actually had fires before. So 2017 and 2021, we had some fires in our gulches. And after the fires in Lahaina, I think a lot of communities looked around and they started to look at their natural environment very differently. And personally, I also work on climate change and health issues, educating medical students in the community about the health effects of wildfires, so particulate matter, respiratory, cardiovascular disease, mental health effects. Because at the end of the day, I think what we all care about is the health of our families and our friends and our neighbors. So Firewise provided a very actionable way for our community to actually do something and make a difference. And that has been the biggest thing, is to get our hands dirty and feel like we are making progress.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Aloha mai kākou, I'm Aina Kānealiʻi. I am from Kewaloʻuka Homestead on Oahu. I am a Firewise leader, part of Nāleo o Papakolea. We're actually 3 homestead communities, Papakolea, Kewaloʻuka, and Kalawahine. And on New Year's of 2024, we experienced a fire that was caused by firework embers. And the embers traveled and landed on top of the netting that was on top of our mountain. And that was actually the first time in my life that I was at my home for New Year's. Usually my family, we go to church in Kalihi, but Kalihi was getting a little too crazy with the fireworks. So our congregation decided everyone's staying home. And the first time we stayed home, a fire happened. And this was only a few months after Lahaina, and I have family members that were affected by those fires, and we were trying to help them. So having that fire in my community, that was a wake-up call. And especially, it's that moment where your life flashes before your eyes. Not only my own life, I saw my grandma, my auntie, my mom, my whole family, just our whole life was there, and it could have easily been diminished and lost. So I lost a lot of sleep, worried about that, but instead we decided to, let's see what's out there. There has to be someone that is doing this work, and we went to a community meeting, and we met Clay from UH, and he shared with us, you guys should get Firewise. And I was like, well, that's a neat name, Firewise, I like it. And we were introduced to Hawaiʻi Wildfire Management Org, and we loved the community-led part, because so often the homesteaders, there's all kinds of organizations that come into the community to take data and statistics, which is great, but they don't come back and share it with us, what they've collected and what's up. So, and especially with the community assessment, it belonged to us. We could choose who was to see it, and that was a really big game changer for us. And prior to that, a lot of beneficiaries' relationship with Department of Hawaiian Homelands is a little bit rocky, but through the Firewise program, we are rebuilding this feeling on this relationship with the department, because come to realize that's who we got. We need to make it work, because homesteads, for many Hawaiians, this is the last place in Hawaii for us to stay and live here. And I want to live here as long as possible. So with this program, is ensuring my future generations to still have a place to live in Hawaii.
Mahalo you two for that. Those are really great stories, and it really brings home how personal this work is for everybody. For our next question, how about we have Dana and then Harriet? And for communities here in Hawaii who recognize the risk but are unsure where to begin, what helped your neighborhood move from awareness into action? Go ahead, Dana.
Hello, Kako. I'm Dana Aina. I live in Waikoloa Village, but I'm from Kailoa Conway, if you're interested. Go out, yes. In Waikoloa Village, we moved there in 2017, my wife Shelly and myself, and the awareness didn't just show up, it just kind of knocked us over the head, because in 2018, we had a wildfire come within a half mile of the village, and a couple things you can do when you experience wildfire, or wildfire is near to where you live. Some of that is paralysis. But for us, we wanted to know what we could do to help not just ourselves, but our community. And we ended up joining our Firewise committee, because luckily Waikoloa Village was already a Firewise community at that time, and we learned a lot, and eventually got training to be a community wildfire ambassador, and trained home assessors. And so we were able to take that mana'o and share it with other people in our community, and even other areas where we traveled to. And instead of just fear, we had a strategy. We could have a checklist of things that our neighbors could do to keep their homes safe as well. And we didn't have to look to the horizon, to the unmanaged lands, thinking that we couldn't do anything about that. We were able to focus on our home and the 0 to 5 feet right around our house, and it sort of empowered us, and we were able to move beyond that point and break down what we needed to do into sort of like a strategy, a strategy of defense. So that's how awareness hit us personally, and how we were able to kind of move towards action. But it's just, for me, a lot of sharing of that mana'o and talking story with a lot of the other Firewise leaders out there. We all learn from each other. Every home, when I do a home assessment, as a home assessment program manager for HWMO, every home is different. I always learn something, and there's always something that we can share to help people take action and keep their homes and their community safe. as possible, and that's the way we malama each other, and we malama Aina as well.
Hi, so my name is Harriet Parsons. I now work for Hawaiʻi Wildfire Management Organization. I moved to Hawaii in 2011. I lived in Hilo for the longest time, and then during COVID I moved in, who is now my husband, in 2020 in Waimea, Kamala View Estates. It's just right side Waimea. And in 2021 there was a wildfire and it came all the way down Parkland. I don't know if you know what the cause was, I think it was a human cause, all the way down to the community, with some members going into the community. And that was kind of a wake-up call, because I was actually not there, and my dog to this is like, what do I do? I don't have that answer, and that was kind of scary. Try. So that was sort of 2021. Later to find out, actually the same wildfire happened, same place, if it's not the same one, back in 2007. So the same man had burned in 2007. So we know it's happened before, we know it's going to happen again. Let's get imaginative, someone said yesterday. I don't even want to go there, but yes, I will prepare for that worst case scenario. So, funny enough, the way I got into Firewise, and I'll tell you that story. I was driving one day with my daughter in the car, and there's this owl, who I later find out is Kānealiʻi, cool, on the side of the road. This is weird, small neighborhood, I love my neighborhood. We're like 122 homes, everyone knows everyone, slowly, it's wonderful. So we pulled over, we parked the car and we went over, and there was a roadside booth. Funny enough, I don't know if I should declare this, but Nani Barretto lives in my community. I was doing Firewise, so I shoot her on stage. Anyway, she started talking to me about, there is something I can do to help my family, to help my community, and do I want a home assessment? Do I want to use a free green waste dumpster? Free, I like free. Dumpster, yes, my green waste, because I have hatchback. I have 2 hatchbacks. I don't have a big truck. I'm European, as you can tell, I'm from England. We like little cars, but little cars are little. So that was really helpful, and through that, then I had to do a home assessment. So your question was, what helped me? Well, I joined my Firewise community, and what helped was getting the knowledge first. So first getting that home assessment, learning what's impactful for me, my family, my community. And then from there, when I joined the Firewise community, we have a matriarch who says little by little, do the work little by little. And it's the face-to-face. So over time, we've built our little Firewise community. In fact, May 2nd, we had an event, and I've got a new community member joining our team. I'm very excited. But it's sort of like that face-to-face. So what helped our neighborhood move from the awareness to on-ground action is the face-to-face conversations. It's walking my dog in the neighborhood and having those awkward conversations, building up those connections. It's walking my daughter, oh, and you're in school with my daughter and you live there. Oh, great, let's start talking to you. Were you here in the 2021 wildfires? Yeah. So that was useful. So what's helped us move is on-ground action it can be simple as a dumpster, it can be simple as a roadside booth. You've got to start somewhere, and on-ground action, a huge thank you to HWMO for providing grants to enable us to take that action. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. That was really great. And I think it's important that you're mentioning that it's okay to start small. You don't have to just take off a giant bite-sized chunk right away. And that once that momentum builds, that's what can really lead to those partnerships. And it's that in-person, face-to-face relationship building that I'm hearing is really what's gluing a lot of these communities together. For our next question, how about we start with Elizabeth and then go to Dana? And for communities listening here today, can you share what this work has looked like? And are there key moments that stand out as real shifts forward?
Sure. I would say that probably our biggest win has been the community building that we've been able to accomplish in the neighborhood and the shared partnerships that we've created with all of these partner organizations through the tackling of this 3-acre park. As you just mentioned, we started very small, so it's full of halikoa and guinea grass and California grass, and it sits right in the middle of the neighborhood. So our first step was to actually adopt the park from the city and county. It's an unimproved land agreement that our neighborhood entered into with city and county. And then we just started slowly. So we got our first dumpster, we did our first green waste event, we removed halico and these invasive grasses, and we looked around, we filled the dumpster, and we thought, oh, we didn't make a dent. 3 acres is a lot of land. But we kept showing up to the HWMO meetings and learning from other communities. And we heard, and I learned about a community on the Big Island that used targeted grazing with sheep and goats to work on their flammable vegetation. So I Googled Oahu sheep goats and found a company on the North Shore that grazed under solar panels. They had never done a residential project before. And I called up the city and county and I said, Denny, how do you feel if I introduce 100 animals into our residential neighborhood for 2 weeks with an electric fence around the perimeter? And he said, okay. But we kept doing things and moving it up the chain, and nobody said no. So I was a little shocked when it actually happened and the animals entered the park. That was last May. And we slowly started chipping away at things. And so the vegetation removal that the animals provided cleared the way for more ideas. So again, learning from HWMO about Team Rubicon, called up city and county. How do you feel about veterans with chainsaws? And he was okay with it. We got the permits, and then we made a fire break at the top of this park. All the while we were building momentum with our community, educating people, gathering more people in. And then 2 weeks ago, I got another idea from Papa Kaleo with the Pueo the Owl. And I thought, wow, they made fire education fun with the events that they held. So what do we have? What can we do? So we created Flirt Fest 2 weeks ago, where we had a community block party, and we timed it with the entry of the animals into the park. And we had some fire education and games and face painting, and it was a really good way to let people know about fire risk in the community. And again, the partnerships keep growing. So tomorrow, we're planting trees donated by Urban Forestry. We have some Willy Willy trees that are very special, and we're planting 3 or 4 more. So really just starting small and having everything snowball, learning from the other communities has been our greatest success.
Thank you, thank you.
For us, it's really grown. So we have a small community for a large community of 7,000 people and 3,000 plus households. We only have 5 people on our committee. And we started slow. We started with that top story sessions with each other, with our neighbors, and then we figured out what was the concerns for the community, and then we tried to address them. So in 2021, for example, we evacuated, and good thing it was on a weekend, and so school was in session, which would have been a nightmare for all the parents trying to get back in the village while everybody was trying to get out of the village. And we only have one permanent road in and out of the community, like many neighborhoods. And what we found out after our Firewise community, after we did a community survey, is that there are a lot of people stuck in traffic for 3 to 4 hours trying to get down the 6 miles road down to the highway. So we thought, well, let's see if we can help. So instead of just giving people a map and say, here's where it is, you guys missed it, it was right there, half a mile away. We actually started a emergency access event trial run, and we called it Hulu Holo Holo, because the road is Hulu Road. And we invited them there, the state senators, HWMO, Kānealiʻi was there. We invited civil defense, fire department, police, and we thought, maybe a couple of them would show up. Everybody showed up. And so we had about 200 or 300 cars that first time go down the road, single lane road. It's not normally open to traffic, but they do open it, for emergency situations. And it was a big eye-opener for us. It really helped our community feel like they were empowered and they had another way to get out of that emergency situation. And then the second and third, was kind of a financial and systemic change or key for us, and part of that was our community was able to lobby for our 3,000 plus HOA households to initiate a mitigation fee. So we started at $52 a couple of years ago, and now we're up to $60 per household. So 3,000, do the math. Every year we're generating over $190,000 that our HOA maintenance crew takes and addresses directly to mitigation within the village in those common areas, those common spaces that keep people up at night. And then our relationship, by that I mean myself and Shelley volunteering for Team Rubicon, which was mentioned before. So we actually were selected in Waikoloa for a huge mitigation op in 2024 and continuation of that same op in 2025 to mitigate Keawe mostly along the Mauka fuel break of the village. And so in total, those 2 or 3 service projects and operations, we had over 100 people total and over 5,000 people hours and over 500,000 in-kind dollars for free to mitigate almost 3 miles of the 3.2 mile Mauka fuel break. So it can start small, but it can build. But it's all about what we're talking about: partnerships, building trust in those agencies and organizations, because they're really there to help you. You just got to talk to the right person. Got to get them to that yes, and then they show up and they help you do the work. But I would say, get involved, because 5 people trying to do this is a lot. So we don't want burnout. So everybody out there in your community, talk to your neighbors, get them on the committee, and then you can have that moment where you can hopefully have your own key shift.
That was great, thank you guys. Those are really inspiring examples, and it shows what's possible when communities take those first small steps and then keep developing those partnerships. I also think that creativity piece is really important to highlight, because obviously you're pushing forth what the community wants. And I think that by educating and bringing people in that way, you guys are doing amazing work, and the money just follows, right, with these creative solutions. So awesome. And for this next question, how about we have Anuhea and then Harriet go. And this one is, for many communities, the work is ongoing, and it's not always smooth sailing, as we've seen and we know firsthand. But what lessons have come from that process, and what continues to sustain your motivation over time?
Deep breaths in this work. Firewise is working, or you're in your own community, and what I've witnessed in my community throughout the years, we have lost our connection from each other, especially with the fast pace of the world. Sometimes when we first started doing Firewise and I was doing door knocking, people weren't coming to their doors, but could see them hiding behind their curtains. And any lessons that I learned: start where you are, start now. Because future you is going to be so appreciative. That's what I hear from all of our kupuna, is to start as soon as possible, because the work is just going to keep loading on as time goes on. If not a fire, it's going to be heavy rain. Not heavy rain, it's going to be the volcano. There's something going on always, but to keep going, even when it feels the hardest. What I've experienced through this Firewise program is a rebuilding of Pilina in the communities, but especially with the other homesteads. Papakolea is located in town. So when I was first given this position, I was like, wow, man, like, not everybody really likes town that much. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be accepted, but come as you are, be your ultimate genuine self, and it's going to be received. And especially, I don't know about you guys, but if somebody yells at me, it's not going to ignite me to want to work with someone. So yelling at agencies can get their attention, but especially when you come with a plan, you come with a shovel-ready project and you invite those organizations to be part of the solution, it gets the ball rolling a lot faster and better. And also, I like the Olelo police, but just a little bit Olelo. There is a word, ni'ele. Ni'ele means it's when you have a connection to that place that you are nosy and looking into it. We should be ni'ele to our own communities. We should be ni'ele if there's somebody walking on a road that we don't know, if there's a new abandoned car parked on the road that is not familiar, be ni'ele, check it out, and especially be open to rebuilding those relationships with your neighbors. I'm a little younger than most of my neighbors, but a lot of them I went to school with their grandkids. So this past weekend we had one auntie, and I took a picture with her and I posted it, and I tagged all my classmates. I was like, wow, look, your grandma coming out to clean up. Where you guys stay? It might come off as calling out, but that's ni'ele. That is to call in people to uptake that kuleana. Firewise is primarily doing the yard work, but really the biggest portion is the pi'ina rebuilding within your communities.
So the question was, what lessons have come from the process and what continues to sustain motivation? This work is little by little. It is face-to-face. It's wonderful that we have people working up here, but us Firewise, us residents, we're down here, and it's that slow, face-to-face, little by little. As Eunice, she was always like, little by little. And what inspires me or sustains my motivation are those one-on-one conversations. It's a two-way street. This year was the first year. We have 3 main streets in my community. This was the first year with the HWMO money. We used a dumpster on that 3rd street. I remember this uncle, he is older and similar to me, has a little hatchback, and he was dragging his vegetation over on a tarp to the dumpster. And I came help him, and we started talking. I hadn't met him before. Uncle George, he was in the community when the wildfire happened. He said, thank you, I'm so glad your committee did this, I'm so glad. I'm like, it's not just me, like, I appreciate this. Because we thought no one cared. And that was really hard to hear, because like, we've been in that community for a while during Firewise, but we hadn't reached everyone. And so those face-to-face conversations, you have to keep going back, you keep having to try, because we do care. I mean, I'm trying to do the last. Sorry, I'm the emotional one. And that's what keeps me sustained, is those connections with your community. It's that face-to-face. And that's what motivates me. As I'm sitting at my desk, I can see the bulldozer line from the 2021 fire. When I'm coming to work, these two actually really inspire me. Flirtfest? What a name! So actually this year, in the past, we've done roadside booths. We put up a booth, we sit there, we wave at passing cars, and we wave at passing cars, and we wave at passing cars. This year, we got Park and Ranch to open up the gates. We had them let us walk onto their land and see where the wildfire was up close and have those conversations face to face, community and the large landowner. If you're a large landowner out here, honestly, sometimes that's what a community needs, is you should just open up the gate and talk face to face, one-on-one with that community. And it was great. We also had the volunteer fire department. We have those on Hawaiʻi Island. They are gems. They came with a big red shiny brush truck. They had the hose, their kids were there, Big Island bubbles shot up Hawaiʻi Island. They're in my neighborhood. They opened up the food truck. We had boba tea. It was so much fun, and community came. So what sustains me is the face-to-face, it's the community, it's the connections, but just make sure we're bringing the joy, because you need the joy and the fun to make it sustainable. So a huge thank you to these people, because that's what inspires me too. Thank you.
Oh, mahalo to you both for being so real about everything, because I think that honesty is what folks are looking for. more. They want to hear the real stories. They want to hear the ups and downs, but also all that positive stuff that comes as a result of chipping away, talking face to face with your neighbor. And also, we always have this saying, we move at the speed of trust. So we really have to move at the speed of neighborhood Keina. And so that is a huge piece to this. So mahalo for sharing that with everybody here today. I want to pose one final question for everybody, just give you a moment each to respond. And that final question is, what gives you the most hope moving forward, and what's the most exciting about this work, your future Firewise work? And for this, can we start with Elizabeth?
Yes, I have a lot of hope because I think that in doing this work, you can see how a community can change their risk profile, even though that starts out slowly and seems small at first, but it has just snowballed. And I can't believe that we got from one dumpster to 100 goats for 2 years. So that's been really amazing. The other thing that gives me hope and moves us forward is, again, we keep saying it, but the community where you show up every couple of months and you have these Zoom meetings with Firewise and in person, and you meet the people and you hear about the work that they're doing, and we all learn from each other. And also I hope that our work too can be a test case for city government, for other communities, to show that there's a proof of concept. You can have these crazy ideas and you can push them forward and you can find unique solutions, and that people all want to work together to make the land better, to make the health better, and to help chip away at this solution. So,
thank you, Elizabeth. Dana?
I have hope that we have more people taking charge and empowering themselves to do the kind of work that you need to do to have a wildfire resilient community. And it's all about figuring out that it's not about what's on the horizon, it's about what's in front of you. It's not the neighbors, it's not the fuel breaks, it's not the forest, it's not the tall grasses. And I have hope, and for everybody in our community to realize that they can empower themselves and take action, and have a community as a whole that has the focus on the strategies and the monopoly that they need to move forward. So, and then all of the great people that I work with, not just in our office with HWMO, but I see all the Firewise community leaders out there. I want to acknowledge you and mahalo you for sharing your monopoly with us. And like Elizabeth was saying, we're all saying, we're inspired by each other, but I'm inspired by you as well. We're all inspired by the work you do, and it gives us hope that we're going to get to that point we want to be at.
Mahalo, Dana. Harriet?
So what's hope and exciting? I think I'm just going to go with exciting for now. And what excites me most is we started in a smaller committee, and we started with just 1 or 2 dumpsters, and we're building. And what excites me most is, I wish I had the vision. I don't have the vision, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we go. I'm working on my house as well at the same time as I'm helping my community, taking out windows, putting up party board, like trying to do the best for my own home. And I don't know what it's going to look like at the end, but I have hope that we're going to get there. And that's what excites me. It's unknown, but I know the direction I'm headed, and that excites me, and the connections along the way. Those knowing and building that community is really important, and that's what excites me.
Thanks, Harriet. Yeah?
There should have been a picture that was shown of, we hosted an emergency preparedness event in December, and we purposely do it in December because of the fire that occurred on New Year's. And we had our keiki lead the panel discussion. And that's literally our future. They are involved with our Firewise work. They want to be Khalil. And that's what really inspires me to continue doing this. And another part is, big uncle in my community, he's named after the street that I live on. And because of his choices he made before, he's actually houseless on the street that he's named after. And growing up, I always heard stories about this uncle, of all the crazy things he did. But when we first started with Firewise, we actually was weed whacking around the area where he rests. And then he came out and said, "What you guys doing?" I was like, "Oh, we cleaning up, we being Firewise. Firewise, what is it? He's doing yard work." "Yes, uncle, we're doing yard work to clear out the vegetation so no fires happen." This uncle, he is the first and the last person at all of our cleanups. This past weekend, he helped to clear out my own home. And this is where I'm seeing that, yes, Firewise is helping with the mitigation, but it can really help to bring healing to communities, to bring that clarity of what's important. Lots of times we find that families, they have their own internal challenges, and it's the reason why that things pile up around their home, or especially homesteads. It's like the only base for most families. When our family members move away to the continent, there's a couple boxes that they leave home, and those things can pile up. So an initiative that we have started is to do community garage sales and yard sales. First we started in Papakulea, and then Nanakuli and Waianae also did theirs. And then we learned that all homestays used to do community-wide garage sales before. And it is allowing the communities to reintroduce themselves to each other. Oh, who has the best beach stew around? Oh, is that Auntie on 4th Street? And it's just really beautiful to be able to witness that. And I'm so honored and mahalo to Elizabeth and Nani for allowing me to hold this position. I understand this kuleana I have, especially if you, please raise your hand if you are a beneficiary, homesteader. Mahalo. It is not easy being a beneficiary. It is not easy to be a Hawaiian sometimes, but man, it's ono, it's worth it. And there's no better place to be Hawaiian than in Hawaii. So please, go out there, start with your own home. Pick up those dry tea leaves around your home. All we share is recommendations. It's your home. You choose what you want your outcome to be. So, mahalo.
Mahalo to all of you. You're gonna make me start tearing up here. It's, it's such an honor to work with you all. I'm honored to be up here today hosting this. And I just want to thank you all for sharing your experiences and opening your hearts and letting folks into this, because it's obviously very personal for all of us. I think what's really clear is that this work takes time, strong relationships, and persistence. Those are kind of the common themes that they're touching on today. And what's really cool is that what's powerful is that communities can achieve so much when working within this Firewise framework. Before we wrap up, I want to shout out and mahalo DOFA and the county fire departments who are also very integral to this initiative, and mahalo to each and every one of you for being part of this conversation. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize those who are active in their own Firewise communities. Can you just raise your hand for everybody here? I know we have a bunch of you. Woo! Let's give them a round of applause too, because they are the ones making the application. Like Nani was saying, this was just a snippet, but we hope it was a great representation for you all of what is possible through the Firewise network. With that concludes our Firewise panel. Mahalo to everybody for your time. Thank you, panelists.
To the Hawaiʻi Wildfire Summit to give out awards, and you'll see the rest of what they are, but we have an award for Harriet. So now you know there's awards at the end, but she has to catch a plane, and we realized that it's a mismatch. She's going to miss the whole thing, and we just couldn't do it at the office. Like, there you go. So we have a Walk the Talk award, because she is foregoing kitchen and bathroom renovations to harden her home and retrofit it for wildfire safety, to get rid of the bushes and make a rock wall instead. She's putting her money where her mouth is, at her own home with her own family, being a part of the leadership of her own community. And now she's working across the entire island and state and training folks to do the same. And so at every single level, she's contributing and inspiring us. So here is the 2026 Hawaiʻi Wildfire Summit Walk the Talk Award to Harriet.
I just want to give this entire panel another huge round of applause. These are our community members, our volunteers. This is really hard work, and it's really hard work. And they're in it to win it. They're committed. They are the movers and shakers. I showed you that map of the 60 Firewise sites across the state. Those are the dots on there. That's what you saw were the stories behind those dots. So I am so moved. I am so honored. I've been gifted this responsibility to steward and to cherish and to support them in this work. And it really is, it's the action on the ground that's showing where we can be as a state. So again, big mahalo nui to our Firewise panelists that were up here. Thank you.